So, okay, I will share. I will read his brief CV. Yeah, dear sisters and brothers. So our guest professors here is Professor Ming. He was born in 1957. Yeah, and Prof was awarded a Bachelor of Science in Nanjing University, majoring in urban planning in 1982. Then Professor pursued his Master of Business Administration from University of Oregon, USA, and also continued his PhD from Northern Illinois University, USA, majoring in economics in 1997. So now Professor Ming served as a professor in School of Business, Zhengzhou Sias University, teaching microeconomics, macroeconomics, labor economics, urban economics, and he has published so many books and more than 100 academic papers. So very excellent. So now Professor will discuss with you, sisters and brothers, the important issues that perhaps you have learned before in macroeconomics, whereby about multiplier theory. So professors will share his thoughts about what is the flaws or weaknesses of the multiple theory in macroeconomics, and also he will give you some overview about what should be maybe the solution in regard on these weaknesses of multiplier theory. With that further ado, I would like to allow and welcome Professor Ming to share your presentation or your thought, maybe for around 40 minutes, Prof. And then after that, we continue our discussions for around 30 minutes. We will end the discussion for maybe 1.5 hours, or maybe your time is 3:30 p.m. If it is possible. Okay, Prof, with that, I would like to pass on to you, Prof, please.
Okay, it's my time?
Yes, Prof, please.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kusuma. I'm from China. When I studied in USA, I got a couple of fellow students from Indonesia. So we have good relationship. And I remember one of my fellow students from Indonesia said to me, "So your country." Okay, I remember this. Yeah. So I come back to China and so my country. Yeah. So personally, I have very good relationship with quite few fellow students from Indonesia. So when Dr. Kusuma asked me to give lecture, I'm very happy. So I feel very honored to have this opportunity to give this seminar right now. So from this map, you see this is China and this is Indonesia. Okay, the Sias University is located on the south bank of Ilu River. Okay, you know, this is Ilu River, this is the Yangtze River. The Ilu River is the mother river of China. My university is located at Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a very special city in China. Okay, one thing I'd like to show you. The Chinese ancestor called Xuanyuan Huangdi was born in this city. Okay, the Xuanyuan Huangdi, the Chinese ancestor, is very, very important in China. We believe that the all Chinese culture from this gentleman. So this is a very special place. So if, okay, you visit China, you should come to here to know the Chinese history from here. The Sias University is also very special. Okay, sometimes we call it Sias International University. because this university is quite international oriented. So when Dr. Kusuma asked me to give lecture, I'm very happy because this is our university orientation. And I'm from, okay, this is the library of the university. It's very beautiful. Okay, we come to our lecture. When Dr. Kusumi asked me to give a lecture, one word come to my mind, that is critical thinking. Okay, in China, I believe that critical thinking is very important for students to grow up. And then I thought another word, multiplier theory. Okay, this is very important concept or theory in macroeconomics, because I know this is macroeconomics class, so I have to talk something macroeconomics related. So my topic today is the critical thinking on the multiplier theory. Okay, let me give some introduction.
Sorry, Prof. Could you please move on the slide, Prof? The slide is not moving on, Prof. The slide that you share in the Zoom screen is not moving.
Maybe change it?
No, not yet, Prof. Still in the first slide.
Okay. Some problem. Okay. Okay. Let me. Okay. Continue. Okay. Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Yes, Prof. Yes.
Okay.
Change now. Yes.
Okay. See. Okay. This is math.
Could you please make bigger, Prof? Could you please make bigger, Prof? The slide bigger, please.
Okay. Now fine.
Yeah. The slide.
Chinese ancestor. Xuan Yun Huangli, just I said. Okay. This is University of Sias, and this is the library of the Sias. Okay. Now I come to my topic. Okay. Critical thinking on the multiplier theory. Okay. Let me continue. Okay. Yeah. Introduction. The multiplier effect means that the increase in total expenditure will cause the national income to increase exponentially. What means exponentially? Means a small increase in expenditure will cause a big increase in national income. Okay, the multiplier is the ratio of the increase in national income to the increase in total expenditure. I assume that you have know the basic knowledge of macroeconomics, including multiplier. So I just give very brief review of this theory. So under certain assumptions, the calculation formula is the 1 over MPS plus T, okay, which is greater than 1. Here, the MPS refers to marginal propensity to save. T is the tax rate. The 1 over MPS plus T is the multiplier. The realization of the multiplier is a process that continuously increases in demand, leading to an increase in production. And an increase in production creates a new round of demand, and so on and so forth until infinity. Okay, suppose the government increases expenditure by $1,000 million, then this money will become household income. If MPS is equal to 0.7 and T is 0.1, the household will consume $70 million, save $20 million, and pay $10 million for tax. Then the expenditure of $70 million will become the income, and so on and so forth. And then finally, we can calculate the multiplier, which is 2.5. And it means $100 million will become $250 million in national income. Okay, this is a very brief review about the multiplier. The concept of multiplier was originally proposed by Swedish economist Lcture and Russian economist Baranowski, respectively. In 1931, the British economist Kahn used the concept of multiplier to explain the relationship between investment increase and employment increase and the limited value of multiplier effect. So this is the use of multiplier concept. Okay, more importantly, the Keynesian associates the multiplier with the national propensity to consume in his famous book, General Theory. Okay, this application of multiplier theory was first extended to economic growth theory and business cycle theory, and it became the core concept of its series. For example, in the Harvard-Dorman economic growth model and in the multiplier acceleration model established by Hazen and Samuelson, combining the principle of multiplication and acceleration principle to explain the business cycle, and multiplier theories all occupy an important position. Okay, basically, the multiplier theory is important. You have learned macroeconomics. You know, in this course, multiplier concept is used very, very often. So this is a very important concept in all macroeconomics analysis. Although Keynesian theoretical system was then challenged by monetarism and new classical theories. Okay, when we're talking about the monetarism, Friedman. Okay, when we're talking about the new classical theories, Lucas, etc. Okay, but multiplier theory was not questioned. But I believe that the multiplier theory has major theoretical flaws, and it is necessary to be discussed and questioned. Okay, let me show you the main flaws of multiplier theory. First one, the saving and taxes caused by autonomous expenditure do not cease to form demand. Okay, consider impact of autonomous expenditure on income, such as private investment or government expenditure. In the beginning, private investment or government spending increases household income by the same amount. According to the multiplier theory, after a household receives this increased income, taxes is deducted, and part of it will become consumed according to the marginal propensity to consume, and the remaining part will be saved. In the next stage, only the part consumed by households creates new demand. It is implicitly assumed that the portion that become taxes and savings will be left unused. However, this is obviously a problem. In fact, through the automatic adjustment of interest rate, savings will become or will converted to the investment, and taxes generally have to be converted into government expenditures. Therefore, in the later stages of private investment and government expenditures, new demand is not solely determined by households' marginal propensity to consume. Okay, all these households, business, and government will spend money. On the other hand, sorry, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Second floor of the multiplier theory. Oh, sorry. It's good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Continue. Okay. On the other hand, if households do not sell and government does not levy taxes, the multiplier will be infinity. Then, as long as a certain increase in government expenditure can create unlimited national income, why don't we recommend trying to reduce household savings to zero and the government reduce taxes to zero so that we can enjoy unlimited income? Means if MPS and T are both equal to zero, and then the multiplier become infinity. So this is very logical. Okay, the third problem or third flaw, the realization of the multiplier will be infinite time, not instantaneously. In the multiplier effect, if the multiplier effect exists, the realization of multiplier is an almost infinite process. From the beginning of $1 of private investment or government expenditure to increase the national income, it has experienced countless times from expenditure to income and from income to expenditure. And each process is a repeated production process. This process seems to have never been analyzed in detail. So we should analyze it carefully. If the government increases expenditure, the workers' wages will only be paid after the corresponding rate has been paid. This is the first stage. After the workers get their wages, then they consume. Workers who produce consumer goods are paid only after they produce these consumer goods. But it can be seen that each stage of multiplier process is a process from production to consumption. At the same time, the realization of multiplier has to go through countless processes from production to consumption and then from production. Okay, this means the multiplier process is a long period of time. okay, in this period of time, okay, from production to income, from income to production, okay, the multiplier process cannot be finished instantaneously. So if the multiplier effect really exists, then the timeline is a serious problem. However, in case analysis or in further application of the multiplier theory, such as that we said the multiplier acceleration model that explains business cycle, the multiplier process is often implicitly understood as an instantaneous realization. So when we do, okay, when we do exercise, we say if government increases expenditure by $1, and then instantly we assume that the income will increase, say, by $2 and $5. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, the third flaw is the avoiding the source of funds from avoiding the source of funds for increased expenditure and the impact on income. Any increase in expenditure involves the source of fund. That means where the money comes from. Okay, and in all increases in expenditure in the private sector must be borne by the fund owned by the private sector. The result must be an increase in one part of expenditure and a decrease in another part of expenditure. For example, an increase in household consumption will be inevitably be accompanied by a decrease in their savings. This is our personal experience. We consume something, right? We have to use our savings to pay for that. So the increase in private investment must be accompanied by a decrease in consumption because the income is given, is limited. If the increased consumption can lead to an increase in national income by a multiplier, then a corresponding decrease in private investment or government expenditure will reduce the national income by the multiplier. And the result will be that the positive and negative multiplier effects cancel each other out. Okay, means if we have the multiplier effect, okay, this is the positive. Okay, for example, we increase the money, and then it must be accompanied by a decrease in the spending of the same amount of money. So if there is the multiplier effect, they must be cancel out each other. The private companies can also go to the capital market to raise funds. However, in this process, some other households or companies must transfer part of their income or working capital to the fundraising companies through the capital market, resulting in an equal reduction in the expenditures of these funds out of the households and companies. It can be said that in the private economy, any change in expenditure will not have a multiplier effect, or if there is a positive and a negative multiplier effect, they will cancel each out. They will cancel each other out. Okay, let us first examine. Okay, now we move to a topic: how the government. Okay, if the money spent by the government, okay, how the government finance its expenditure. So let us first examine the government budget constraints, which can be expressed as delta G equal delta T plus delta D plus delta N. Here, the G represents government expenditure. T represents the government tax revenue. The B represents public debt issued to fund government expenditure, and then represents the money issued by government for the government expenditure. Okay, so I believe every student knows this formula because just learning the macroeconomics. Okay, this government budget constraint tells us that if the government increases spending, its source of fund is nothing more than three parts. Tax increase, delta T. Okay, public debt, delta B, and money, delta M. If tax increases are used to pay for the increased government expenditure, then private investment and consumption must be correspondingly reduced by the same amount. Therefore, the positive multiplier effect of government expenditure will inevitably cancel out the negative multiplier effect of the reducing private investment and consumption. If public debt is issued to finance the government expenditure, the essence is that the purchasing power of private sector is transferred to public sector or the government. Similarly, if there is a multiplier effect, then the positive and negative effects must cancel each out. Okay, must cancel each other out. So if money issuance is used to pay for increased government expenditure, there will be two situations. If money insurance leads to corresponding inflation, that is, the increased purchasing power of the government is exactly equal to the reduced purchasing power of the private sector, which is represented by money owned by the private sector. The actual purchasing power declines and is exactly equal to the purchasing power increased by the government through money insurance. If there is a multiplier effect, the result is still that the positive and negative multiplier effects cancel each other out. If the economy is in recession, remember that, if the economy is in recession and there is considerable excess production capacity in the economy, then issuance of money does not lead to corresponding inflation. Then the aggregate demand will increase and the national income due to excess production capacity will increasing accordingly. Okay, so in my analysis, okay, this is only case the government spending can increase the national income. Okay, the third part, the re-understanding of the multiplier. Okay, based on analysis we just conducted about if an increase in expenditure is necessarily accompanied by a decrease in another expenditure, the multiplier effect does not exist. Because if it exists, the positive and the negative multiplier effects will exactly cancel each other. Okay, this is one point, or one conclusion based on our discussion just about. Second, under the conditions that there are idle resources in the economy, the increased expenditure does not lead to inflation. The increase in government expenditure paid by the government through money issuance can lead to an increase in national income until full employment is achieved. Further increase in expenditure will lead to inflation. The government has the only rule that can assume this function in the economy. because the government increased one expenditure without necessarily causing another expenditure to decrease. The private sector cannot do this. Okay, that means the government can increase expenditure by, say, issue the money, so they get more purchasing power. So the increase in certain expenditure by the private sector will inevitably be accompanied by a decrease in another expenditure. If the government increases spending by increasing taxes or issuing public bonds, it will inevitably bring about a reduction in equivalent expenditure of the private sector, while the issuance of money has no such effect. So this is an important basis for the government to conduct macro demand management. This is my point of review. The government can conduct macro demand management, but only on limited situation. Third, if employment is not full and if an expenditure has a multiplier effect, this multiplier effect is a function of time, because multiplier effect is realized through one production process, one after another. Okay, just as I discussed. Okay, the multiplier process includes many process from production to consumption, from consumption to production. So the multiplier effect is a function of time. Okay, depending on how much time passed. Certainly not instantly. When implementing an expansionary fiscal policy, it is necessary to consider the size of multiplier effect at different times and theory that implicitly treat the multiplier effect as an instantaneously achievable process is a problem. Okay, let me go in detail. Okay, later on. Okay, fourth, the marginal saving rate and the tax rate do not determine the size of multiplier, but determine the composition of expenditure in the process of realizing the multiplier. If it is assumed that saving will be transformed into investment, taxation will be transformed into government expenditure, and public goods, okay, will be produced. And the income minus tax and saving will be used for consumption. That means MPS and the taxation rate will determine the composition of the total GDP or national income. Okay, fifth, how big is the multiplier? Okay, the multiplier for the private sector and government expenditure funded by taxation and issuance of public bonds is zero. Okay, we have discussed it. The multiplier for the increase in government expenditure funded by issuance of money under full employment is also zero. The multiplier for the increase in government expenditure funded by issuance of money under the condition of sufficient employment could be positive. That means on what situation we can have positive multiplier effect. Okay, one thing is the expenditure is financed by the money issuance, and another condition is we have unemployment or sufficient employment, insufficient employment, and then we can have the positive multiplier effect, but it's not very big, as we thought before. So we can discussion, fourth part, the discussion of economic theory based on the multiplier theory. Many theories of macroeconomics are based on the multiplier theory. According to the above discussion, if the multiplier theory has such serious theoretical flaws, it will inevitably require us to further reflect and question this macroeconomic theories. Okay, the idea is that certainly the macro analysis is based on the multiplier effect many times. If the concept of multiplier is a problem, okay, concept, so we must reflect all the macro theories. Okay, reflection on business cycle theory and economic growth theory based on the multiplier theory. Okay, if business cycle theory based on the multiplier theory is mainly represented by the multiplier acceleration model of Hansen and Samuelson, the core point of this model lies in the interaction between multiplier principle that the theory that investment affects consumption and income, and the acceleration principle, that's the theory that change the consumption or income affect investment. To explain the economic cycle, okay, we know there are many theories or hypotheses regarding business cycle. The Samuelson, okay, this theory is very important. The problem is reviewing and analyzing these two theories, we can find that there is a hypothesis implicitly in the derivation of these two theories. The multiplier effect is realized instantaneously. Okay, for example, if investment increases, the national income can be increased instantly. Then the increase in income further increase the investment based on the acceleration principle. These two processes reinforce each other, leading to rapid economic expansion. However, according to the analysis we conducted just now, if the multiplier effect exists, it is a time process rather than instantaneously completion. That means that all the theory assume that when government expenditure and then the national income increases instantly, it's wrong. Okay, it's wrong. So this theory, this business cycle theory, has some problem. Okay, will be discussed in detail later. Okay, reflection on Keynesian macro demand management theory. Keynesian analysis ignores 2 points. One is that it did not discuss the issue of increased funding for autonomous investment, which cannot be avoided. That means when we're talking about macroeconomics, we often use the word autonomous investment, autonomous increase in government expenditure, in private investment. What do you mean autonomous? Okay, increase. The money must come from somewhere. Okay, actually we have discussed. The second problem is the time. Okay, that means we have to consider the math process is okay. In addition, the multiplier effect theory is based on another error. It is believed that saving and taxes of income will be left unused, and only the part used for consumption will create a new demand. From this analysis, the backbone of market theory of the Keynesian theoretical system is quite unreliable. So we have to consider these problems. Okay, thanks a lot for Dr. Kusama and the students. Comments and questions are welcome. Okay, this is my short discussion regarding the multiplier effect. I'm not sure in this short period of time if you really understand what I'm talking about, but I really raise an important question regarding the whole macroeconomic theory. Okay, probably I don't think today we can reach any conclusion or any consensus. What I like to do is I leave this question for you for further discussion to thinking. Okay, because we have a big, we are facing a big theoretical problem. Okay, it's called multiplier theory. Okay, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, professors, for very enlightening presentations. Indeed, I'm enjoying your presentation since the beginning, because professors give us a new overview about the multiplier effects in the context of macroeconomics. Yeah. I'm here noted some important points, professors, from your presentation since the beginning. The first is whereby the in the consumptions, the MPC here is not the solely sources to create a new demands. Yeah, so MPC is not the new factors. It's not the only factors that causes demands, but also there are some other factors such as taxes, such as saving. And second one, the thing that I noted from Professor's presentation just now is whereby here that the role of the government here in the context of macroeconomics must be maybe very important, yeah, because the government here could be have a role in terms of the macro demand management, if I'm not mistaken, from your presentation, Prof. And the last one, if I'm not mistaken, is that in terms of the multiplier itself, the accelerated models here must be based on the time process. I mean that the multiplier here is not automatically done in the system. It must be taking some time so that in the end of the day, it will affect to the new demands in the economy. So other issues has been come up from the professors. I get new overview insights from your presentation, Prof. Okay, dear students, before I go to your chance for Q&A sessions, professors, I would like to ask you, maybe not ask you, but need your comment, Prof, or feedback, Prof. Regarding with the presentations, you said before that the saving here will be used by the government in order to support the investment, isn't it? And also the taxes will be used in order to support the government spending. It means that if the government would like to increase the expenditures, the economy must sacrifice the consumption, isn't it? So between consumption and government seems to be cancel out one other. So if you increase the consumption, the government will decrease. And if the consumption decrease, the government will increase, isn't it? And also in terms of investment, it has the inverse relationship, because investment and government here related with the MPC, or I mean that the portion of consumption consumed by individuals at the aggregate levels. So my question here, Prof, do you mind about the market process, Prof? The market process. I mean that in the macroeconomic theory, we are given to understand that market is efficient and market can regulate the activity in the economy so that there is no any problem in the end of the day, because the market itself can efficiently manage any information, any activities in the economy. So I need your suggestion or your feedback, Prof. To what extent the market here can influence the relationship between the consumption, investment, and government? Can the market make this consumption, investment, and government go in line and together, Prof? No any inverse or no sacrifice one another, Prof. Thanks, Prof.
Okay. First, my understanding about your question is sorry, I didn't follow you very well. Okay, tell you my understanding about your question is means the government increases the spending.
So my question would be, Prof, you said in the beginning that between consumption, investment, and government, they seems to be have cancel out each other. So if the consumption increase, the investment and government could be decreased. And also the way around. So my question is, could market processes can make them between consumption, investment, and government go together, Prof? Would it be possible?
Possible. What I like to say is, if the economy is in full employment, that means all production capacity is used, efficiently, and then if you increase one part, there must be a decrease another part. For example, if government want to increase spending, where's money from? Three sources. Taxation. Taxation means what? The households pay the taxes, so their consumption must be decreased. So this is our basic idea. That means if the let me say again. Let me repeat. If the government, if the economy is in full employment, any increase in expenditure must be accompanied by a decrease of expenditure another. So if there is multiplier effect, they will cancel each other out. This is the basic idea. What I suggest is that on only one condition, that is the employment. We have some insufficient employment. That means there are some resources idle. So in this case, the government spend money, it could increase the national income. So this is my if like say the macro demand management. What my suggestion is, this is the way the government can manage the aggregate demand. Let me see. But why we have taxation? To my understanding, we need taxation because the government need money to pay for the public expenditure. So when we talking about the taxation, my understanding is that if we ignore the macro demand management, the taxation, the basic idea for determination of taxation is, how many jobs the government should take, and then the government will determine the taxation. This is that means you don't consider the taxation is an important tool for macro demand management.
Okay, Prof. one more question, Prof, before I pass to the student, Prof, because my understanding is okay, and also I'm trying to get some other view of you. You said that before that the full employment must be in place, yeah, so that the market can efficiently run, so that the consumption, investment, and government spending. So the keywords here is the full employment must achieve, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the condition right now in many countries, the condition of full employment is very hardly, it's very difficult to achieve. Even we don't know how, to what extent actually our full employment capacity.
Yeah.
Somehow we don't know to what extent. I mean the optimum positions that we should reach, so that it is considered to be full employment. We have not known exactly. So based on that condition, Prof, in your humble understanding, if we are as a policymakers, Prof, we are as the governments, so which one between these three indicators, these three variables, must be given priority, must be given the first attention? Whether the government must focus on increasing consumption, or increasing investment, or maybe increasing the government spending, bro. So that, I mean that the acceleration process heading to the full employment here is going on fastly, bro. Which one that must be focused? Whether focus only consumption, we have to push the consumption, or push the investment, or focus only the government, so that the full employment that you shared before is accelerated in terms of the
somehow I understand your question, and I thought there are two issues regarding this issue. Okay, one issue is we call the macro demand management. It means there are some problem, okay, or aggregated demand, right? Because we have the aggregate demand is lower, and the economy in recession. So we have to boost up the economy. So we have a couple of tools we can use to boost the economy, boost the aggregated demand, right? So okay, my suggestion is the monetary tool is important. Okay, why this is important? Because if you use the taxation or issuing bonds, okay, all these tools must be accompanied by a reduction in expenditure in the private sector, right? For example, okay, if the government, okay, the government want to increase the expenditure, where the money comes from, okay, and then one way is we increase taxation, okay. If you do so, okay, maybe you can increase the government expenditure, but the household will reduce their consumption, okay, something like this. So my point, okay, this is okay. So in this case, my suggestion is if government can increase the money supply, okay, and then use this money supply to increase the government purchasing power, the aggregate demand may increase without a reduction in expenditure of private sector. Okay, so this is my idea. Okay, another issue is if we concede a long run, okay, we should consider the composition of the expenditures in terms of private investment, consumption, and government expenditure. Okay, so in the future, when we're talking about the taxation, we should consider, okay, this is not a macroeconomic issue, okay, this is probably a public finance issue. That means how much tax we should pay. Government should connect. Okay, depending on what rule the government like to take. Okay, so the taxation should be match the rule the government should take. Right now in China, we have problem because I don't know very much about the Indonesia economy. For example, in China, okay, now problem is the taxation is quite okay. Sometimes we say the taxation level is higher, but on the other hand, the government say we have no money. Yeah, now China is very big problem. You know, the government officers say that we don't have money, but we think the tax level is very high. The problem is the government assume many duties, but the taxation is not enough to financially support these duties. So this is, but I don't think this is macroeconomic. This is not issue of macro demand management, but this is a public finance issue. That means how we should, okay, have a right taxation level so the government can fully conduct their duties. Okay, yeah.
Okay, Prof. Thank you. I got some points from your side that here we should promote the government policy that can balance, perhaps can balance.
One point is, to my understanding, the balance is important. Okay, if the government all feel they need money, probably taxation is problem.
Yeah. Okay, Prof. Thank you. Okay, dear students, I pass the floor to you. We have still around 30 minutes from now to have discussion with professors. Okay, you have any question in mind? Please, you can raise your hand, or you can write down your question in the chat. If you are not willing to discuss directly to professor, or if you have any question that you want to post directly, please just raise your hand, please.
Okay, yeah, and questions and comments, welcome.
Yes, also comments, feedbacks, feedbacks are welcome. Or if you feel that you are not willing to share your question in English, I can help you to translate into English if you feel that you are unconfident.
Sorry, but okay, we are all the English is our second language, so maybe we have some communication problem. But right now it's fine. Okay, I kind of understand you.
Yeah.
But be honest, we are not native English speakers.
Yes. But I can understand your conversation, Prof. I can digest your presentations. Never mind, Prof. Okay, Prof. By the way, meanwhile waiting the students' question, Prof. How many students do you have there, Prof? In Sias? How many classes that you're teaching now, Prof?
My?
Yes.
Okay.
30,000 students.
Yeah. 300,000 students in Sias.
Wow. So
university. How many your university?
Mine is around 20,000, Prof. All students. Yeah, in one university, in university level. Yeah, around 20,000. Yeah.
Okay. The school of business has 8,000 students.
Oh,
it's a
very large
school. Okay. Somehow 1/3 of the university students. We have many college schools in the Sias.
Yes, Prof.
Because
okay, Prof, we have here one student raising hand. Please, Brother Abdi Hakim, you can set your camera on and then pose the question directly to professors. Please, Brother Abdi. Brother Abdi, please. Time is yours.
Probably, I'm
Okay.
shy to ask a question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, sir.
Yes, brother, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, hello. We can hear your voice, please.
I can see you and I can
Okay.
hear you.
I want to ask the sir if the government make our base more expenditure and everyone gets more money, their consumption will be increased, right? Then the price increase and the inflation
Yeah.
will happen.
Yeah.
Then the inflation will happen.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
also, if they do not make any expenditure, the unemployment increases. So how we can avoid and rebalance our like those things?
Okay, my point is, if economy in for employment, if government, okay, increase the money supply or issuance the money, and then it will cause inflation. What means inflation? Inflation means the purchasing power is transferred from the households to the government. So nothing will happen. Okay, in terms of aggregate demand. Okay, this is my. I'm not sure it is for your question.
Yeah, brother, just now, professors, brother Abdi Hakim questioned you about the dilemma of the government. If the government printing much money, it will create inflation. But if the government did not printing money, so the employment will be large because the government doesn't have enough money to finance the economy. So seems to be a trade-off here, Prof. If the government, whether government printing money or the government maybe not printing the money. I mean that what the best policy of the government so that between inflation and unemployment, they will be hand in hand, Prof. No any inverse relationship, no any sacrifices. What the best policy, Prof? According to his question just now.
Yeah, but okay. Actually, the government policy has many purposes. Okay, for example, even though the issuing money will cause inflation, but the government really need to transfer some purchasing power from households to the government. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but this is not the issue of demand management. This is another issue. Okay, for example, now the government eagerly need to do something, but they do not have enough money. Okay, they can increase money supply and transfer the purchasing power from public to the government sector. Fine, but this is not an issue of aggregate demand management. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Brother Abdi. So professors just now answer your question that the main point actually is whether the economy has reached the full employment. So this is the issue right now. So if the full employment has been achieved, I think there's no any serious problem with the inflation because the inflation in the full employment is created through the new demands. Yeah, not the supply. Yeah, so the most important one is that we have to promote to what extent our demand here can reach the full employment capacity in terms of business cycles. So this is the issue and challenges actually from the government perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, Prof. We have any question, dear students? We have still 20 minutes to end.
Yeah.
Or you have any question in chat, please?
Okay, just go ahead. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Meanwhile, waiting other good question from student, Prof. We just want to know, Prof. You see that China right now, by the way, is the new giant economy in the world, or maybe would become the new leaders in the economy in the next few years ahead, because in terms of GDP, China has a huge amount and almost exceed the US. So we want to take your experience and maybe knowledge, Prof. What actually the key success of the China right now, Prof, that has been conducted for a long time ago, so that become the new superpower economy in the world right now, Prof? What is the key that could be related with the macroeconomics policy, perhaps, Prof?
Yeah, but this is a very important big issue. Let me briefly talk about something about the Chinese economy and the reform. In last century, in 50s and 60s, China was very poor. Okay, it's very poor. In that period, the China conducted what a planning system. Okay, everything is planned by government. Okay, in that system, okay, people are not highly motivated. Okay, means we do more and we do less doesn't matter because we will earn the same income. So no one is highly motivated. And we also have no market economy. That means the government will determine the allocation of all resources. But this way of allocation resources was very it's not efficient. Okay, and then we feel very poor, and then we determined to conduct reform and opening up policy, because in the planning the period, the China is fully closed. Okay, that means we have, for example, when I was a child, I'm afraid to talk to foreigners because it's very dangerous. Okay, at that period of time. But we know little about the world, and after opening up, we knew more and more the world. And I got a chance to study in the USA, and then we learn about the outside world. We really understand the problem of the Chinese planning economy. So we understand that we have to do reform to introduce the market mechanism to allocate resources, and we have to change the distribution system. That means we cannot do more and less, we will earn the same money. So we have the new motivation system, and you do more, you will learn more, you will earn more. And then we have the entrepreneur. Okay, that means we encourage people to be entrepreneurship. That means the people can run the business. Okay, and also we introduce the foreign capital to the China. Okay, all this, and then in 2001, okay, the China joined the WTO. Okay, so we have the really opening up a policy, and then the China's economy grew continuously. Okay, until now. Now we have the second economy in the world. But one thing I like to tell you is, in terms of per capita income, the China is still very low. I'm not sure. Probably your capita income is higher than China. The China now is roughly $10,000 per month per year. How about Indonesia?
Yeah, Indonesia right now, because our population is not that much compared to your population, Prof. We only has 3 million people. 3 billion, yeah, 3 billion,
Yeah.
3 billion, sorry, 300 million people, compared to you, 1.5 billion. So I think in terms of capital, we are much more, but in terms of the maybe in terms of the distribution of income, we are still in 0.38, Prof. In terms of Gini index, 0.38. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. To my knowledge, the Indonesia economy is also growing fast, right? Yeah, we have not all big cities in Indonesia. Okay, like China. So now China, we have many big cities, and also I saw that in Indonesia we have same thing. So actually, the both countries now have very much similar process of economic growth. Yeah, so it's very like to it's very good for us to discuss and to share the knowledge, and probably we may have some collaborative research about the economies of both countries. Yeah, it's very nice to have this conversation and discussion. Right.
Okay, dear professors, I guess all the students here, I don't know whether they have understood. Okay, you have any questions, students?
Okay, I understand. When I studied in US, especially at the first years, I cannot. I can raise questions in the class.
but the student informed me that they understood your presentation, Prof, and no questions because I guess that they have already clear about what you have presented just now. So they just fine, clear, and okay. So no questions. But overall, Prof, that I may conclude for your conversation today is very interesting discussions from new insight about multiplier, that perhaps initially we don't have any enough knowledge about multiplier effects. But you put some new perspective that the multiplier here must be based on the government micro demand management. So I mean that the government rules or policy is very important, because the government must ensure that there is no any inverse relationship or cancel out between consumption, investment, and government spending variables. Yeah, because if the government cannot able to manage this demand, for sure that if the consumption increase, the government expenditures will decrease. And also if the consumption decrease, the investment also will decrease. So this thing that is not the good things in terms of the national income components in the economy. And the last thing that I take from your conversation here, Prof, very interesting points, that the keywords in order to build up the economy to be strong and resilient, we have to be open. We must to be open to the in terms of the policy from the outside. You took the example from China that since 1970, the China has changed the policy from closed to open economy, so that China adopted the market mechanism. However, this market mechanism must be backed by the great entrepreneurship. So this is the key points that maybe Indonesia lacking behind, Prof. The numbers of entrepreneurship still not that much compared to the China, so that the market mechanism backed by great entrepreneurship, so hopefully it can create a new demands. This new demands, if backed by good government macro demand management, so maybe it is the good and great combinations between the demand and the government regulation and management. So in the end of the day, the new demand will be created and will be compounded to be a great national income, such as China right now. That's all, Prof, that I got from you. Very great information, very updated information. And I wish the student here can get some maybe overview from professors just now and try to maybe think of it. And please try to maybe analyze from your perspective and how could it be possible to be implemented in the case of Indonesia, for example. So we can learn from China so that we can improve our economy better and better based on the best practice conducted by China government policies. Prof, before we end the sessions, do you have any viewers, Prof? Do you have any maybe wise words to us, or motivations, or maybe other things, so that our student here can be more motivated and maybe better in the future, Prof, please.
Okay, let me say one more thing. I think today I raised an important question. Okay, that means multiplier theory problem. Okay, this is a very important. I said that multiplier theory is the core theory of macroeconomics. If this theory really has some problem, okay, this is a big issue, right? So, be honest, okay, I am not very sure if I am correct today, but I believe I raised an important question. So, I hope in the future we both can pay attention to the question I raised today, and maybe we have some other time we can discuss. Okay, if my question is a real question, okay, this is a big issue. That means we are scholars. Okay, we really like to achieve something. If the multiplier theory has some big problem, and that means the whole macroeconomic analysis has problem. So we have many things we can change, right? Yeah. So let me say again, I'm not sure if I am right, but I'm sure I raised an important question. Okay, so doctor and all students, okay, think the question I raised. Okay, maybe we can choose something academically in macroeconomics. So if we can do that, I feel I really achieved something for today's lecture. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Thank you so much, professors, for your wise words and motivations to all of us. And professors, we expect that this conversation is not the last conversation that we made. Hopefully, we can make another discussion, Prof. Or perhaps we can have any job collaborations in terms of research, in terms of publication together, Prof. Yeah. So that we can expand our knowledge and our experience to be more respected by other scholars in the world. And we open, Prof, for other collaboration with your university, our Department of Economics. And we expect that one day maybe we can teach there, even though online, Prof, maybe, so we can meet your student virtually and teach the course as it is. Yeah. Would it be possible, Prof?
What understand that? Why China can choose something? Because international cooperation is is a big reason. We should economic cooperation. We also have academic cooperation. Okay, we really like to understand experience from all countries, especially from Asian countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, etc. Okay, because we share many things, good things, bad things. So we should really understand each other, learn each other. Okay.
Baik, Prof. Okay, Prof. We are waiting forward for another collaboration, perhaps in terms of joint research, joint publications, or perhaps staff mobility programs, Prof. Perhaps your colleagues from Sias can teach here again virtually, and our lecturers here from UMY can teach a course at your university someday, Prof. And then we wish that we have exchange program again, Prof, such as last 2 years. Your student can study here and our student also can study there.
Yeah,
So
I invite your students to come to see us to study. We can have face-to-face conversations. Very nice.
Yeah. Yes. Great, Prof. So hopefully the pandemic will be over as soon as possible. So maybe I and my team can go there, and you also can visit Indonesia or UMY for having another academic conversations.
Yeah, I really like to do that.
Okay, Prof. That's all for a while, dear students and all participants. Last but not least, I would like to express my thanks and appreciation to Professor Ming from Sias International University for giving us enlightening presentations about multiplier theories, and very interesting, enlightening, and inshallah very respectful. So hopefully all of you can get some idea and get some insight for further deliberation or further analysis. With that, let me thanks and we end this conversation. And good afternoon, Professor Ming. See you again next time.
Thank you very much. I also like to give my special thanks to you and to all students, all participants. You know, participation is important, and also I grateful for the chance to give me to have this opportunity to discuss with you and with your students. And we hope in the future we have more and more chance. Okay, it's very useful. It's very wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Prof. Good afternoon, Prof. Thank you very much. Stay safe and healthy, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.